I've got my part here. I'm going to duplicate it, and whoops, don't want to grab the room, I just want this. 6. I'm going to make it non-can collide. So if I have it can collide and I change to a cylinder, right now you'll see it moves up like so. So I'm going to make it non-can collide cylinder. It's going to stay where it is. Now I can turn it back and it'll be fine. I'm going to rotate 90 degrees, and I'm going to change the size here. There we go. We'll put one on the other side, and then we can select, I'm going to start with this part here, and whichever part you select first is going to determine the orientation of your final union. So if this part was oriented, say, 0, 0, and 90 degrees, and you select it first, when you make the union, it will be 0, 0, and 90 degrees. In this case, it's, for example, here, if we start with this and union it, you can see its orientation is 90. I'm going to undo that. If I start with the middle here, its orientation is 0. And you'll notice that the orientation of the fabric too changes. And I actually like this orientation for the fabric better, so we're going to go with that. So there we have a single piece for a union, and there's one more thing to discuss about these, and that is the collision here, collision fidelity. And right now it's at default, so I'm going to go to my settings, and you can go, it's Alt S, or just right there as you saw, go File and then to your settings. And what I'm going to is rendering here. Nope. Physics, there we go. And if we go down to the bottom of physics, there's this option for showing decomposition geometry, and if I select this, okay, this one you don't have to restart Studio. What this does is, if I move this, you can now see this is the actual collision. What you're seeing here is how this is actually going to be in the world as its collision box. So right now it's on default. Hull, in this case, hull may actually be more appropriate, but if you have more complex geometry, hull will be slightly, it'll try and keep the geometry, but it'll kind of smooth it out a bit, so it won't be as exact. Let's see if I can give you an example here. So here's this one. This is the default, but if I change it to hull, you can see it's going to give me just the rounded shape of this. It's not going to be quite as exact. And then a box is just going to be simply that, a box that's the same size as the bounding box, I believe. So default is the most exact, and in this case I'm just going to leave it at hull because we don't need anything too complicated. Box would be a little weird if you're floating in the air right on the corners, so I'll leave it at that. And then I can just hit Alt S, turn this off, and then all I have to do is move. You just have to at least start to move a part or resize it to turn off the it showing you what the geometry is. That can be useful when you're making like a hole in the wall, let's say, or a door using a union, and you want to figure out why you can't fit through. You can turn that on and see if perhaps the actual collision area is different than what you're seeing, and that might be causing your problems. So there you have it. That's unions. Just remember, 2 parts, put them together, right click, and then you can union them. And then if you put a normal and a part that's negated, that the negated part will cut out from the normal part. And then you can also separate unions.